you can see, this is the same format. This is what you're going to do. Sometimes I ask students to make 2 designs. You're going to create 1 design. So those shapes that are completely covered with black marker, they appear solid and opaque. So this is different definition of shape than the definition of this shape, for example, which is kind of fragmented because there are textures here that are much creating, the shape appear lighter, or maybe sometimes even transparent or translucent. Okay, especially when we see that there's another shape that is overlapping here. Okay, so this is opaque. This is more transparent. So the next step is to sketch on a separate piece of paper. Okay. You actually really would like to draw a couple of rectangles. It's extremely helpful. Rectangles that are a miniature version of a piece of Bristol on which we're going to design. Okay, so make sure, so if I'm looking at that rectangle, maybe it's a little bit too long. So I want to capture the same proportions, more or less. You don't have to measure. Just look at that from afar. And so if I see that it's a little bit too long, I may want to make it a little bit shorter. Okay, so this is a sketch. It doesn't have to be super precise. Okay, you can always erase lines that I don't like. Okay, so think about the orientation of the paper or your picture plane. So maybe there will be some rectangles that will be landscape orientation, some that are, let's make it a little bit larger, maybe a little bit easier to compose on a larger scale. Okay. Alright, so I would like you to draw a couple of these rectangles, just like this. Okay. And then start drawing and inventing all kinds of shapes. Okay, so I'm going to do this very quickly and easy. A few shapes. There's not much overlapping happening here, so maybe I'm going to bring a few circles down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a good number, and they are of different sizes. Okay, and I like this distribution. It's very simple, but there is some balance here and some dynamism also happens here. Okay, maybe we can have one more smaller here. That might be fun. Okay, now with these, just remember it will be slightly different because we are not dealing here with variety of tips or points. There's only pencil, so you're getting out a concept, a framework only. So you still are going to figure out what kind of textures or patterns you're going to find for each of those shapes or spaces. Okay, it can be simple or more complex, and you see in all these examples that are attached to this assignment, there are many different infinite ways of exploring shapes and lines. Okay, right, so once you're happy with your design, okay, I'm thinking about that the orientation of this will be okay. That tells us how I'm seeing how that design should be seen, that composition. Okay, to redraw this, just the framework you can still change slightly the ideas. Okay, so just major contours, right? I'm not going to probably capture all those patterns. Here, maybe one of these larger, so I'm going to experiment a little bit with the size. That will also create a little bit of space. Okay, I don't necessarily think of them as that they need to be super precise. Maybe I'm going to make them sort of blobs. Might be fun. Okay, so things are slowly shaping. Okay. The next stage will be following those guided lines in pencil. Okay. You see, like, I don't like that. I'm going to make it, you know, let's say that something happened. It's a very rough line or shape that I did, okay, and it's unintentional, so you want to smoothen it and make it nicer. Okay, it's very easy to always correct. So sometimes that also brings you new solutions for the shape. Okay, so this is quite interesting what happened here. And maybe that's a good idea for some type of pattern that I want to devise here. So I don't like there is like a tiny little bit of line or a point. It made this really rough edge and I don't like it. I may want to cover this up, but that gives me an okay, and now I see again, so something like that happens. Smoothen this out. Okay, so this is a way to make it nice and smooth. This is implied shape, or the outline of this shape is implied. Okay, so these are a couple of ideas here. Think about the varying the quality of a line, size, of shapes, grouping shapes versus larger shapes. Their distribution is also important across the picture plane. Figure-ground relationship, creating space for overlapping. Okay, like here we have two shapes overlapping one another. We have something here that creates suggestion that there will be overlapping happening, although I haven't finished yet these shapes. There are lots of ideas for rhythm, repetition here with shapes and textures. Density of textures can create the different definitions of shapes. Okay, so a lot of ideas to explore here.